Dharma talk, or perhaps this is going to be more of a Dharma conversation because, as I was saying earlier, the more I started trying to kind of study this, the more I found, different opinions and discrepancies here and there, and it kind of brought a lot of questions up. So for me, and so anybody who wants to jump in, clarify, be my guest. Thoughts, comments are welcome. Just, and I kind of like the free for all format. So just, unmute yourself and jump right in there. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the 3 bodies of Buddha. And I may have given a Dharma talk on this before, but if I did, it was probably quite a while ago. And perhaps I've unearthed more to say on the subject since that, or perhaps it was just a reading. It's kind of tough when I when I do readings once a week for Riverside Zen Center, and then I, anyway, keeping track of what I read or what I talked about, I should keep a log, but anyhow. So the three kayas, so kayas mean body, the 3 bodies of Buddha. So the 3 are, we have the Nirmanakaya, the Dharmakaya, and the Sambhogakaya. The Nirmanakaya is the body of Buddha, and this can correspond to our physical body, earthly, decomposing, impermanent, but most often it's thought of as the Buddha, as Siddhartha. So we can become more aware of this through paying more attention to the physical body. We can, I think it helps to make us more compassionate. And one way to be more in tune with our physical body might be meditating upon that. Perhaps, like a body scan, being aware of where pain might be in our body, or discomfort, or even if we're upset emotionally, where does upsetting feelings, or thoughts, where does it kind of stick in our body? And I think through being more in touch with our own physical bodies, because, they say all beings are Buddha, right? So I think there's a bit there, the Nirmanakaya that exists in all of us. It's, the physical aspect. And, by being more aware of our own discomforts, I think it helps make us more compassionate towards other beings. So moving on to the Dharmakaya. Now the Dharmakaya is often associated with the mind. It's considered the wisdom body. I see a note. Myoto has a note.
Yeah, she's just spelling out for us the Nirmanakaya and the Dharmakaya.
I just put the words in the chat in case anyone wanted to take notes, they would know how to spell it.
Right.
That always irritated me as a student. The Dharma teacher's going on and I'm trying to write it down like, I don't know how to spell the Sanskrit. So there you go.
Yeah. What I don't know, like backing up one to Nirmanakaya, the Sanskrit, kaya means body, but I wonder what nirmana, what the literal, translation of that was. Do you happen to know where the nirmana part of it?
I do not,
Nirmana is
actually.
creation.
Creation.
Thank you.
Ah,
They sometimes say the manifest body. So
okay. Well, that fits. Huh. Good to know. Okay, I should write that on my little sheet here. Manifest creation. Okay. Okay. So Dharmakaya, the wisdom body. Now this is where I got into a little bit of conflict as I was looking this up. Because on the one hand, I was reading some of what I was reading about the three kayas. I was reading from Thich Nhat Hanh here, the heart of the Buddha's teaching, and then I also read some sources on the internet. I think I was also reading a book that that Tom passed on to me, Mahayana Buddhism by Paul Williams. So I was looking at a variety of things. And what I found was that some people talk about the Dharmakaya in terms of big D Dharma, wisdom teachings, and yet others talk about it kind of in a more, I want to say, metaphysical kind of way, or more like little D dharmas, all realities. So it is also referred to as the reality body. I read the embodiment of truth itself. Vairochana Buddha is often depicted as the Dharmakaya. Dharmakaya is the eternal aspect of Buddha, or relating to the essence of Buddha. So, so looking at it from that standpoint, you might ask, what other figures, might be manifestations of Dharmakaya? Maybe Mother Teresa, maybe, various saints, maybe Jesus, maybe, so, you might kind of look at it that way. I mean, I don't know. Thoughts? Anybody want to jump in? Argue with me on this?
Well, I won't argue with you, but
Yeah.
the,
Comment.
the three kayas are also thought of, especially in Vajrayana Buddhism, as realms or locations. So we live in the Nirmanakaya. The Sambhogakaya is an indeterminate in the middle realm, and there are a lot of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who dwell there. And in the Dharmakaya, if memory serves, there are only 4 beings that live there. Prajnaparamita is one, Samantabhadra is another, and I apologize that I do not remember the other 2 off the top of my head. But that is a realm of, I don't know if you can hear my dog coughing in the background.
I do hear
apologize.
a dog
I'm
coughing.
so sorry.
Poor baby.
But I know. But the Dharmakaya is, I think Vairochana does live in the Dharmakaya. Anyway, it's a realm of sheer luminosity where the beings that live there do not need physical form anymore.
Oh.
So that's another way of
So I learned something.
conceptualizing.
So
Yeah, that's just another way of conceptualizing the kayas. So when you read something like this person belongs with this kaya, that's what they're talking about, is the kayas kind of as a realm, a dwelling place.
I have more digging to do, I see. So
It is a rich and fertile subject. I mean, whole books have been written on the three
gathered that.
kayas. Yeah, yeah.
Where can we find more information about this?
Well, my best source today was Google. I did a lot of, Googling.
No, what professor was talking about in Tibetan Buddhism about the three realms? Where can we find more information about it?
Myoto?
I believe she's referring to the book you were showing us by Paul Williams.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and there seemed to be some very good information in that one. That book was, Paul Williams, Mahayana Buddhism,
Okay.
Doctrinal Foundations.
I have read that book and really liked it a lot.
I have not read it yet, but I kind of.
Yeah, it's deep. Yes, Tom.
And then, on a lighter note, Thich Nhat Hanh, he also has a chapter of this book dedicated to the three kayas, the heart of the Buddha's teaching. And so his comments on the Sambhogakaya were a little more brief, I would say, but I didn't put these in any particular order, but to finish up other little notes that I had on the Dharmakaya. So one thing that kind of caught my eye, let's see. So the Dharmakaya could be expressed through both action and non-action. So I think an example that I read in Thich Nhat Hanh's book was, a tree, for example, there isn't any action there per se, but yet we can, learn from all sorts of things. We can also, sometimes when you're talking about action and non-action, in terms of wisdom, it's like sometimes the wise thing to do is not to act upon something, if that makes sense. So that was just another thing that I saw that was kind of struck me. Also, Buddhas are manifestations of the Dharmakaya. So Buddhas or Nirmanakayas are manifestations of the Dharmakaya. So kind of, that also kind of struck me. So the Sambhogakaya, the bliss body or rewards body, heavenly, associated with speech, I read. We reap the rewards of our practice in the form of peace and joy. And, so when we're talking about the Sambhogakaya, I mean, if you're talking about that in terms of realms, does that not include what we reap here on earth through, the actions of our practice, do you think? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Everything that happens in the 6 realms of samsara is Nirmanakaya. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So we have the gods at the top, the jealous gods below them, human beings, animals, I'm going down, hungry ghosts, and demons. So all of those realms are Nirmanakaya. They're all physical bodies. Think of it that way. They're all flesh and bone. So
when we're talking about the Sambhogakaya or the bliss body,
Mhm.
how does that fit in? Is that?
That is, so if these are going top to bottom, then think of the Sambhogakaya is off to one side.
Okay.
Imagine 3 boxes. On the bottom box, it's stacked one on top of each other. The bottom box is the Nirmanakaya. Inside that box are the 6 realms. Stacked on top of that is the Sambhogakaya, and stacked on top of that is the Dharmakaya. Okay. And this is just ways of conceptualizing this stuff. If it helps you, wonderful. If it doesn't help you, there's no test. You don't have to learn this stuff, okay? But
right.
A lot of people have found this very helpful over thousands of years, so it's good to at least look at it.
Marian, can I comment?
Sure.
So, one of the schools of Chinese Buddhism that later was adopted into a lot of the Korean, Japanese, East Asian versions of Mahayana. Really, as you're aware, they really focused a lot on the Lotus Sutra, and so in the Lotus Sutra, there's a teaching that there are like 3,000 realms of existence, all within one single moment of time. And so the Tiantai school of Mahayana Buddhism in China taught that what this meant was, when they're talking about these 3 kayas of the Buddha, they're just, as Master Myodo was saying, they're formulating a description of these characteristics of the Buddha, or every Buddha, so that we can better understand what they went through and what they exist as. So if we look at these 3 characteristics of the Buddha, and we see all Buddhas have the truth, they have the laws, there's the Dharmakaya. All Buddhas have a perfected body, that they have come into Nibbana, and they exist in their realm in order to teach other people. And so then there is their perfected essence. And then all Buddhas had to live a human life, all had to overcome suffering, all had to go through samsara. And so there's your Nirmanakaya. And so the teachings of the Tiantai were that these 3 bodies of the Buddha are present in every Buddha, but they're also present in every one of us. We just haven't figured them all out yet. But we're all going through samsara right now. And that's what they're trying to teach here. So I think the Tiantai uses the Lotus Sutra to do a good job of trying to formulate this into a conceptual body of doctrine that we can see all Buddhas consist of perfected knowledge, perfected physical form, but they also all went through samsara and those realms of existence that we've all had to suffer through for millennia, for kalpas and kalpas of time. So that's what the 3 bodies are according to Tiantai Mahayanism, and that's what I adopt myself. That's what I accept as the definition, because it helps us to conceptualize what a Buddha is and what he or she has overcome in order to become the Buddha. So that's my 2 cents. I hope that was helpful.
And speaking of you, one of the things I was after as I, picked on this topic for today was I was thinking about your Dharma talk and, how you connected the 4 Noble Truths to the 4 vows. And what I was kind of after is I was curious to see if there might be some parallel here, because we, looking at this, you've got the Nirmanakaya, which is the physical body of Buddha, and then you've got the Dharmakaya. And then I was like, well, now wait a minute. If we drew a parallel, if there was a parallel between the Sambhogakaya and the Sangha, which I could not find one, per se. I was thinking, oh, wouldn't that be an interesting, parallel to the 3 jewels? So as I started, looking into this, I was like wondering if I might be able to draw a parallel there, but I couldn't. I kind of got, no.
Actually, Marian, I think
Right,
you're on a good
perfect.
track, and I think you can, because the triple jewel reflects to us the teachings of the Buddha and why it's perfected and how it can bring us to our own enlightenment. But you can, I think, it's not a 1-for-1. It is, but they don't line up straight across. So if we're looking at the Buddha, then we have that perfected Buddha that we're talking about in the middle. So you have here the perfected Buddha, and we find refuge in the Buddha, and we find refuge in the Dharma. That's the truth. That's the Dharmakaya. So that's this part. And then the Nirmanakaya is the Sangha. That's the manifestation of the Buddha as it still exists on this earth in samsara in all of us that are part of the Sangha. So you're there. That's absolutely a valid analysis of what these 3 bodies are as they still exist, rather than a Buddha who's already achieved his or her Parinibbana and are not with us anymore. Only their teachings remain, and only their Sangha remains. And we are that Sangha that still remains the Buddha. So absolutely, I think you're spot on.
Well,
I
thank
agree.
you.
I agree. Tom, thank you. Well explained. It Marian, really good insight. Can I interject with a visual aid?
Okay.
So this is the Tara Temple at Tara Mandala in Colorado. It is called a 3 Kaya temple because it has 3 levels, and the different floors are actually referred to as the different kayas. The ground floor is the Nirmanakaya. The next level here is the Sambhogakaya, and the top level here is referred to as the Dharmakaya. Lama Tsultrim will say, I'll meet you up in the Dharmakaya. And she means right up in here. Okay. So I just thought that was a lovely way of kind of showing how it's one structure, one building, but the different levels there.
I noticed as I was, kind of researching this that the 3 Kayas seem to be very prominent in Tibetan Buddhist liturgy, more so than in Zen, I think. So
yeah, you're
I could
correct
throw
about
in-
that.
If I could throw in this idea of 3 again, in both Tibetan, South Asian, Southeast Asian, Mongolian practices, they celebrate this coming week, as a matter of fact, on the 26th of May, Vesak Day or Wesak, which is also a 3-body form of the Buddha. We celebrate the birth of the Buddha, the enlightenment of the Buddha, or the Nibbana of the Buddha, and the Parinibbana of the Buddha, which is it's a holiday throughout most of Southeast Asia and South Asia, as well as Tibet. So anyway, that's May 26th. So it seems like there's a connection there to the 3 bodies of the Buddha.
Great. Well, thanks, you guys. That kind of concludes my Dharma talk. Everything I had kind of put together there, and thank you for all your input and great information to help fill out the voids that I had. That was wonderful.
Thank you for taking on such a deep and rich topic.